Let's kick it off, shall we? Welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Friday, October 2nd.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Can you believe it? This is the beginning of our 7th month of doing these Zoom chats. Oh, my goodness. And time has just flown by, and I still look forward to everyone like it's, the third. The first two I wasn't really looking forward to. I was just like, what's going to happen? What's this going to be like? And I never cease to be amazed and edified and interested. So, hi again. And for all of you guys who are new, I've been blithering on for months now. So a lot of us already know each other quite well. So today is a glorious day in Massachusetts. It's got a little bit colder than it normally is, but it's lovely. And our new puppy, Nina, is being as mischievous as ever and changing up the places she likes to pee and poop inside. She will go outside, we'll play around, we'll ensure that she tries to pee and she comes back inside and immediately poops. So we're following around with puppy pads all over the place. And that's to be expected. She's now, just coming up to 10 weeks old. We are going to wish Ratna happy birthday.
Hi, sorry. I was having dinner.
Oh my goodness, you've got your small child there. Hi. Nice to see you.
This
is Alicia.
Oh, look at you, sweetheart.
She was just a month when chats began.
Yeah, exactly.
A distinct human being rather than just a small mushy melon.
Yeah, she has really her own
Still
character.
Quite mushy though.
Yeah.
Could everybody please go off mic and just wish Ratna happy birthday?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Could you tell us her name again, youngster?
Her name is Alicia.
Hello, Alicia. What have you got to say for yourself?
Well,
Oh, she's speaking. She just moved her lips. I can hear every word.
she makes a lot of sounds and noises.
Does she make a recurring noise, one that she always does?
Deep can do like a perfect impression
you
of.
do it.
It's like the right, Alicia.
Yeah, you do.
Doe maar. Laat mij horen. Laat maar iedereen horen. No, not impressed.
What languages are you speaking to her in?
Dutch.
Are you doing English as well?
Well, mostly Dutch, actually. Yeah.
Because one of my good friends called Antoine, I'm going to name drop here. He's actually Wagner's great-grandson, Antoine Wagner. His father is French, his mother is German, and he went to an English-speaking school, but his father only ever spoke to him in French, and his mother only ever spoke to him in German. So he now has 3 languages brilliantly under his belt. But she's adorable. Congratulations. Well done. You brought some value.
Yeah.
What a just delightful job to have to do during COVID to bring up this delightful little kid. I mean, obviously not easy anytime.
It actually gave us something to focus on. So,
exactly. Something you'd have had to been distracted by other things. Going, I haven't got I don't have time. I've got to get to this meeting and gosh.
Yeah, for instance, today, Deep took the day off and we all, as a family, went to this crafting course. So it was really fun to actually go with the 4 of us. And
we made a tree.
Yeah, we made a tree, autumn tree.
Yeah.
But it's really nice that you can just do those things.
I don't remember. When did she start to eat sort of human food?
Human food, like solids, yes. Well, actually now she is eating solids like fruits, vegetables, very easy things like carrots or...
Do you mush them all up?
Yeah.
Do you put them through the blender? Because I remember loving trying to make up different meals. You blend it together that would taste really, really nice.
Yeah, we noticed she has bananas and mangoes are her favorite.
Oh, great minds, youngster.
Yeah.
Great minds. See, she's talking. She's actually making complete sense to herself.
Yeah. She's like, oh, mango. Yes, I just had that for lunch. I love that.
So, how are you? You look happy and wonderful as always. You're always
we are happy.
Yeah, we
tired but happy.
Yeah, we just try to enjoy the day, right?
Yeah, we had a really...
I hope you had a nice day.
Yeah.
You're one of the first people who's actually been able to do celebratory on your birthday. Most people every week you get someone who's just like,
Yeah.
I've been in
Yeah,
today.
in home, exactly, yeah.
Really
That's really
glad.
fun.
Obviously, you love to go out and stuff as a family, but what new thing have you kind of found for yourself? If you've had the time with a baby, is that pretty much the COVID age? Because you're much closer, you're around each other a lot more. Is there anything that's unusual from your previous existence that you've started to do more because you really found that this is kind of the ideal time for it?
Life is more easy going. The four of us are together 24/7. So I feel more like, oh, Deep is around, and it's different.
I think it's going to create a bond that will probably never break, because it's amazing how different it is when you're not together during the day and you just meet for dinner and a drink and then go to bed.
Exactly.
And everybody's really tired, so you kind of get to know each other like kids almost. You know how kids get to know each other so well?
That's really nice for Deep, that he can actually spend more time with the kids, or when he's having a lunch break, he sees the kids.
Yeah. And in the morning,
they have more time together.
How is it in the Netherlands, right? I was talking about it more at the beginning when we first talked, which was a few months ago. How is everybody?
So I think Schleike can say a bit more about that, but the situation, at least from what we could see, isn't too well. So
do you still experience the microaggressions that you used to experience? Is anything changing on that level? Because I'm really curious if people have become more sympathetic.
I think so. We're in Switzerland now.
You've gone to Switzerland.
Yeah.
No, you're always in Switzerland.
We're always in Switzerland.
The guys are in Netherlands.
Always.
Yeah. but at least, but I
but Schleike lives in the Netherlands.
On the microaggression. So I think actually it's still a lot of debate around it, right? And we personally don't really experience it. Also because we've been quite isolated, because we moved to Switzerland last year. We don't really have a social life or anything, I think, right now. So there were also several big protests and demonstrations. No, in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, right?
Because I'd love to know, with all the things that have happened, especially the Black Lives Matter movement and some of the things that have really rippled across the world in terms of this, reminding people of significance, and combined with this pandemic, whether that has made people gentler in some way, more ready to step in your shoes, to live a little in your shoes.
I think there's more of a polarization instead of, at least that's what I feel. I don't know. I haven't really experienced it, but I feel that there's a bigger polarization than before, and that you really have the pros and the...
Well, there certainly is in the States. And how about arriving in a new country, and what's that been like for you?
You're better, well, Sid, because I've still got work, so I've got some interaction, but Ratna has been mostly alone with the kids.
It's very different. I mean, we lived in Finland before, where we had a very active social life, weekly activities, and then she was born, and 1 week later the lockdown happened, so suddenly nothing to do, just to stay at home with the kids. And now it was just the four of us, which was really strange. Now that I'm a bit used to living here, and we have a nice place, nice view, and there are so many things happening around us.
Oh, beautiful country. I mean,
it's
crazy beautiful country. And are you in the German speaking or the French speaking?
We are, in the German speaking,
Do you know German?
We learned some at a high school, actually, and I still speak at the same level, I think.
I can speak it a bit more fluidly, but I still make a lot of mistakes. So sometimes we actually do watch DS9 episodes in German.
In German.
It's so strange.
Does everybody have a different voice? Because when I was once played back in the 90s, someone said, here's Bashir in Deep Space Nine, but it's German.
Yeah, we were always really impressed by your German skills.
I remember one of the first things I was really awed by when my mother married my stepfather, Michael, is that I was watching TV and Michael was teaching German on television in England. So I was like, wow, he teaches the world German. You just reminded me of it. So they got married probably when I was in 1977. I was about 12. I remember those days, and I got the first game called Pong, a console with.
You
with
did? Like, yeah.
I got it for my birthday, and we all played it as a family. And we would do everything as a family. But mainly watch things like Wimbledon tennis, and there are institutional things that happen in the UK, like the two main universities boat race each other once a year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My mother would take me to see the Trooping of the Colour, which was the Queen's birthday, and we'd see her ride by with all these fancy soldiers. Is there stuff like that in Switzerland that people do that's sort of institutionally?
Like, I think on August 1st was the national holiday, but there weren't really celebrations, at least not in our part.
Yeah.
But we did go to some great Christmas markets, right?
Last year,
You tried hot chocolate?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, isn't it ridiculous?
The
It's
amount of
crazy.
chocolate.
They must just melt bars of chocolate with butter and give it to you in a cup.
Yeah.
It's that thick.
There's
It was-
a lot of chocolate everywhere.
And also, great cheese as well. So.
Cheese.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
no, sweetheart. Great cheese. She's a cheese lover, huh?
Yeah.
Whose drawings are on the wall behind you there?
Yeah, those are Ratna's drawings. So.
That's my art.
Oh, that's yours.
No, it's for our son. It says so 1 fire truck plus 2 race trucks is 3.
Oh, that's terrific.
Fun art.
Do you see?
You know, we can actually sew art,
Please.
which isn't us, but this one was made in. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
This one was made in Kyoto.
That's her son, Rohan.
That version of Rohan, our son.
Great.
Just last year.
What took you to Kyoto?
So when we were living in Finland, I had paternity leave. I had 5 consecutive weeks off.
6 even.
Yeah, and then we just said, well, Rohan was 2 years old at the time, and we just thought we could go somewhere really far. We could either stay here or just do something crazy.
Yeah.
And then decided to just visit Japan with him, and he was just running around
In the garden.
and people were really friendly. Also, it was a really child-friendly place.
Yeah,
and
through Japan, and it was really, really impressive, and especially for Rohni, really all the different cars that they have. His big car.
I've never been. My brother's been. I would love to go. It's a part of the world that I've never been to. I'd love to go to China. Yes, China. I know. It's pretty great. And Japan. When I'm working, I'm always on a plane going somewhere, and it's just so nice not to be going.
And
hopefully they'll
stay where you're comfortable. Yeah.
You said
Exactly.
the same thing.
I used to travel a lot as well.
Last year it was insane.
Yeah. Well, you got a good beard though. Like, is it a permanent thing? Like, will you keep it?
It's a mark of my laziness at the moment. I haven't shaved, but I know that when we start doing the plays again, I'll have to go back to that. It's been such a pleasure talking to the three of you. Will you introduce me to your brother-in-law so that we talk to him for a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And also thank you and Mel for hosting the chats. As you probably have noticed, like, we are here every Friday. So
we love
it's been really a great anchor for us to help us get through the COVID situation. So,
and
we've learned a lot from everyone that came here. So it's really great.
Thank you.
To be part of it.
Well, I'll let you introduce your brother-in-law.
Oh, there he is. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Okay, well, here's Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Sid. How are you?
Thank you for making the time to come and talk to us. That's really very generous of you. And you're obviously in the Netherlands.
Correct, yeah.
And you're having a very similar trajectory as to pretty much every country. There's very few countries that are getting away with this. And you're a epidemiologist, or a virologist?
I'm a virologist, a molecular virologist. Basically, I've been working in a company now that is actually testing a lot of vaccines and antiviral agents, amongst which against COVID.
And how confident are you there'll be a vaccine next month?
No. Next month is very, very, very optimistic. I mean, there are vaccines at this moment that are being tested, but before you can sell them, they need to go through a trajectory of tests. That goes for all medicine. For all medicine after World War II, there's been a system introduced called Good Clinical Practice, GCP. And basically, every drug or every vaccine you use is first tested in a preclinical stage, so in a laboratory and test animals, and then goes in a small group of people, volunteers, to see if there are no adverse effects. That's phase 1.
Yeah.
Then you go to a larger part, phase 2, where you test on a larger group of people. And then finally to phase 3. And that phase 2 is more to see, is it efficient? Are there not too many adverse effects? And phase 3 is large worldwide, so that you get all kinds of people, a broad coverage of the entire world population. And basically there you test, does this drug or this vaccine actually do what it's supposed to do without too many adverse effects?
Yeah.
Well, the front runners at this moment, and there are some large companies, and you can watch the news and you will hear the names, but before that's finished, that will take a few months. Vaccinate people next month? Absolutely, but the vaccine is not tested at that moment. And you cannot do that with something that you're not sure about.
So if I understand you correctly, these tests, especially phase 3, would take a great deal of time. I mean, just to accumulate data, just to crunch the numbers and find people, administer the drug, ensure the people that they have the right symptoms and to understand what level of symptoms they have, etc.
Yeah, and with COVID, it's a bit different because normally if you have, for example, a disease like, let's say something diabetes, and you have a new drug like a new version of insulin, you have people who have the disease. You give half of them a control, a placebo, so something that doesn't do anything, and half of them get the drug. Patients don't know what they get, the doctors don't know what they get, and only a very small group of people at the pharmaceutical company know. They get the data afterwards, and then they interpret in an unbiased way, does the drug actually do anything?
Right.
Now with COVID, it's very difficult to select people who will or will not get infected. So the COVID trials are really huge. I think that if you look at the AstraZeneca trial, it's something between 30,000 and 60,000 people, because you have to vaccinate a lot of people. You have a smaller group that's getting placebo, and then you have to wait until people get infected. You cannot voluntarily infect them with COVID. It's not ethical.
Yeah.
So we don't do that. And
Right.
eventually, after a few months, you will see the people who got the vaccine, did they get less infected, less frequently infected? Did they get less symptoms? Is there less morbidity, mortality, etc.? So that's how it works.
Thank you. And I understand that it's going to be incredibly difficult to get this vaccine into a manufacturable stage by, say, February or March. It's still quite an enormous pace. It's much faster than would normally happen to a drug, which I've heard can take many years.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about vaccines is we've made more vaccines in the past. The yearly influenza vaccine is just a variation of the one of the year before. So you have the platform how to make it. You have already some indications, or is this going to work, yes or no? COVID is a little bit different because it's new. So there are a little bit more tests to see how should we make the vaccine, will it work, etc. If I can make an estimated guess, beginning of next year, probably the larger companies will either be ready and put the vaccines on the market, or before that they will have shown that they failed. They're doing their utmost best what they can to be as fast as possible. Make sure these people are working 24/7, absolutely. But we can't rush things.
Yeah. In your professional opinion, what is the efficacy of a vaccine of this kind? I mean, what are the chances that it will help? I mean, is it very high, or?
A vaccine in general is very high. If you have a good vaccine, the chances that you will get immunity, so partial or complete protection against the virus, is very high. And you don't always need complete protection. I mean, if you reduce the number of people who get very sick, if you get some mild symptoms, but you prevent the spread of the virus within the population, that's also good. That is also working. And some companies will aim for that rather than preventing the complete spread of the virus and complete reduction of symptoms. So that will work.
Last week, the president and his people, the coronavirus task force, they're called in America, they suggested that if we didn't get too many vaccines done and we didn't test many people, we would get a herd immunity. Is that a sensible strategy?
Well, herd immunity it's originally from the veterinarian world. And basically, herd immunity means if you just have enough people who got the disease or get some kind of resistance, you will make it more difficult for the virus to spread within a population. By that, eventually the virus will go away. If the chances that an infected person can infect somebody else who's susceptible to the virus are very low, then eventually you'll get rid of the virus. It's easy as that. And that's also why you could use maybe less efficient vaccines. So people get a little bit sick, but it's much more difficult for the virus to spread from one person to the other. So
right. It's a very costly way of dealing with the disease in terms of human suffering by just waiting to see how many people get it and hopefully they spread it amongst themselves without a vaccine.
Yeah, it's a way. Basically, it's natural selection. There are some people who will survive, like happened in the plague in the 16th century, the 15th century. People will survive, but humanity of it all, that's totally different. You can't compare that. At this moment, we have the science and the knowledge to protect people. So that's our duty to.
How did you get into virology?
Well, originally some 25, 30 years ago, I started studying chemistry. By accident, I got a major subject in virology, and I thought it was really interesting because basically a virus is not something that's living, but it's also not dead. It's on the border of the living and the dead. So it contains the materials of which living cells, organisms are made, but still it's not a living thing. It's also not toxin. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
It's very small, but it contains all the information to reprogram an organism, to make it do completely different things with a very, very limited set of information. You have to see that if you have an encyclopedia, a series of books, with a few pages in there, you add a few pages and then suddenly the meaning is completely different and what happened is completely different. And that's what the virus does. And so I got really interested and I got the opportunity to do a PhD in that. And then after that, stay at some universities and eventually went into industry because I thought, okay, if we can understand how it works, on the one hand, the viruses that are pathogenic, that will make us sick, you can battle. But on the other hand, we also use viruses to heal people. Very nice example of that. There is a company, one of the large pharmaceutical companies, who use a modified virus as a form of gene therapy to treat children with a lethal muscle disease. And by basically administrating that virus before the age of 2, you can heal these kids. And they can have a normal life.
Wow.
But there you use a virus as kind of a magical bullet.
Are there other applications for viruses, or is it all just in the medicinal sphere?
Many things. In agriculture, for example, they're used as biological control agents. For example, if you have a huge crop and you have caterpillars on that, you can use a specific virus that only will kill one kind of caterpillar without affecting all kinds of beneficial insects.
Right.
That's a possibility. It can be used as antibiotics. They can be used in cheese industry to keep balance in the culture that makes your cheese. Basically, viruses are all around us, everywhere in us. They're not all that bad. In fact, they're one of the reasons that we exist, that they caused evolution as well. They help evolution.
They trigger like mutations in that sense.
They trigger mutations, they transfer genetic information from one organism to the other. So many possibilities there.
Thank you. I have a really interesting question. That I read the book by Richard Dawkins called The Selfish Gene quite a few years ago now. And apart from the fact I felt terrible that love stops didn't exist, according to him. That's just a cynical aside, but of course it exists. But the book in a nutshell is that genes exist to continue to exist. And all they do is find ways to replicate and continue their line. If that is the case, and viruses are no different, they're genetically trying to figure out how to get from one host to the next and survive and to replicate. Is there anything else that they're supposed to do? Are we all here just to replicate and no other function? Is there any purpose to any of the viruses?
If you would look at a virus, because a virus is, one of my professors taught me that a virus is nothing more than a bunch of rogue genes that went loose and then started replicating on their own. I do believe that life is more than just getting to make as many copies of yourself as possible.
I do too. How did you guys meet, by the way?
Basically, we met on a dating website some years ago.
Wow.
Basically, we were living not that far from each other. We never have met without that. And at that moment, dating sites came up and we thought both of us were looking for a steady relationship again. And we found each other and we thought, hey, you're interesting. And now we're 2 kids further. And
how could I refuse a man who took me to the Blue Man Group for our first date?
Wow, that's awesome. That's a really ballsy thing to do for a first date. Most people will do like coffee.
Yeah, but this was more fun. By far.
Well, I can't thank you enough for making time and offering your generous advice and expertise on a subject that we're all really curious about. I didn't get into it too much because It's a bit depressing, the COVID thing.
To be honest, all the virologists I know, they say all at the beginning of this year or end of next year, when COVID started in China, everybody said, yeah, that's just another flu or just another cold virus. It will pass. We all underestimated it. If somebody says, I didn't, sorry, I don't believe him. Now we say, this too shall pass. We will get through this. We all will get through this, and I'm sure that we will. But our social way of thinking, dealing with other people, that's affected. Some things we learned from COVID, some things that we were doing and were maybe not that smart. So social distancing, it can go to extremes, but before entire COVID, sometimes if you see how we were dealing with other people, seeing afterwards, it wasn't that smart.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that this virus still is going to surprise us? Or do you think we're on it now?
This one, I don't think it's going to surprise us, but it's not the last one. It's not the first one, it's not the last one. So that's why people like me and my colleagues, we keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
That's what we do.
Listen, thanks a lot. And we'd love to see you again whenever you want to turn up. And thanks for making the time.
I'm the Deep Space Nine buff, so I just have to drag him along.
I know. He doesn't know who the hell I am, and it's not important. What's important is that we're talking.
I do know who you are, but I can't say that I've watched entire Deep Space Nine. That's.
Well, there will be a test. So within the next couple of months, we'd like you to catch up with however many hundreds and thousands of episodes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will do.
There will be a test. Next up, we're going to meet Shar.
Hey, Sid. How you doing?
Hi. I'm doing very well, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there.
I see that you're a theatre buff.
Kind of.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing advertising material behind you. What do you do?
I'm what's called a haunter.
A haunter?
Yeah. So I'm a professional monster. I've been working in the industry for almost 45 years, and that's what I do. I know, right?
My goodness. How fabulous.
So that's some shows and some films I was in.
That is wonderful. Tell us about it. You're going to have to tell us what that means. How did you get into it? What?
I've been doing it my whole life. I started off when I was a kid working in what's called a home haunt. You do stuff at people's houses.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into professional haunts, and then we went from one weekend to a couple weekends to a couple months. And at this point, I work about, this year's a little different.
Yes.
I work about 2-3 months during season, and then off season, I do immersive plays or horror plays. So I'm really lucky. I get to work all the time.
How fabulous. Tell me, do people ask you to come and do a haunt, if that's what you call it?
Yeah.
On people who are unaware, or people are always aware? Yeah, the living daylights out of people who just don't know what the hell is happening.
Well, when I work a show, it's just like I get hired up to work that event. But I have done for about 8 years, I was doing promotions for a big theme park here in California for their haunt. And we were doing off-property promotions. It's different. Like I have a lot of rules that I have set for myself. If people aren't expecting this, you're going to tone it down. You're not going to take it where you want to take it. But during season or during a show, the gloves are off.
Oh my God, I love how wicked you are. How did you even fall into it? No one goes to college to study for this. This is not careers.
When I was a kid, I was the weird kid in the corner reading the monster magazines. And I started getting into stuff like that, monster and science fiction. And I actually started performing when I was 13, doing magic shows. And that just progressed into, hey, I want to do Halloween stuff. And one thing went to another. And at this point, mostly in the United States, but all over the world. So this poster here, that's a documentary on the haunt industry by John Schnitzer, and I was featured in that. And from that film, I got to travel. We went to Siddig. We did a lot of film festivals. So I was able to haunt around the world. And now, because it keeps playing, I meet people all the time, all over the world.
But you said you do home haunts as well?
I started like back in the 70s in home haunts. I've been doing professional haunts after the first couple of home haunts. People do home haunts, but I was haunting in New York. That's where I'm from, obviously. And I did that for about 20 something years. Then I moved to California, and this is like, there's amazing haunts here. And I got my pick. I can work wherever I want.
Oh my God.
It's pretty wonderful. I've been working the last 6 years at one show that's called The 17th Door. That's actually the only haunt that's running at this point here in Southern California. Everyone else has been shut down.
Wow. And so people actually pay money to get terrified.
People pay a lot of money. People pay a lot of money. It's pretty interesting. That was an outdoor haunt. That was from New York. I did the makeup on that one too.
Wow.
So I could do some special effects makeup, but usually other people. That's it. That was an outdoor haunt.
That reminds me of that iconic figure that people imagine they saw a figure, especially young adolescents, imagine they saw a figure like that in the woods. It became a big meme. Do you remember what that was? I don't know what, oh gosh.
No, but Slender Man. This is way before Slender Man. This was from, I'd say, the 90s. Yeah, the mid-90s was this one that I was doing.
Wow, well, you may be a precursor to Slender Man, because that looks just like, yeah.
That's from a film I did recently where I played, obviously, I hope it's obvious, a witch. It was interesting. I had 2 witch movies back to back, so I let my hair go, and yeah, that was fun.
That's your hair?
Uh-huh, I know.
Fantastic.
And that was a professional makeup artist, of course.
Wow. You look great.
Thank you. Oh, that's first year from the show that 17th Door, where I played a teacher, and I turned the teacher into your not nice teacher, but I made her German, and she was kind of like an authority figure. You know, she's pretty mean. You see, she's got her paddle with her, ready to use it.
Yes, I can see she's ready to spank someone.
That's a paddle, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I've done a lot of zombie stuff, but I don't think some of the gore is really stuff that everyone likes to look at.
I was just going to jump in here and say the next 2 photos do come with a content warning. If you're squeamish, now's the time to get up and take a bio break or something.
But don't be squeamish. It's just me. See?
Yeah, it's true.
It's only
me.
That's a collage of different monsters that I was doing.
Oh my God.
Different things. Clowns. Those are all me. Some are like the scary zombie stuff in the upper right. Those 2, those makeups I did. And let's see. Restorative makeups.
They're very beautiful in a weird way.
Thank you very much. I think so too. I think the dark side of life is beautiful as long as you can balance it out with all life and you don't fall down this tunnel that sometimes, or this pit rather, that sometimes people fall in when they work in an industry that's very dark.
Yeah.
So I've survived it. I'm doing this around 45 years and I still know how to behave human.
Yes. Who makes your costumes, if I might ask?
Depends. Sometimes I make it. Sometimes the show that I'm in will make it. This is just a spattering of a few things I've done, because every year it's a different story, you know, between my immersives that I do, interactive plays that I'll do, and the haunts, because this is haunt season. It's always different.
Yeah. My goodness. Ooh,
zombie.
I've had a bit like that. I did. I came back from the dead in Gotham. I think it was Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, yes. I like you in that a lot. Yeah, that was really cool. It's different.
Amazing. It's totally gross, but amazing. I'm just looking at my camera, see if I can find a photo of that. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So that was an appliance that your makeup artist took straight on your face, right?
Yeah.
It was foam latex. I don't know if you've ever done any other type of appliances or makeup, but when you put it on, you look in the mirror and you can change.
Absolutely.
You find it. You find your monster self.
It completely changes you. And this is another one from another film. Sorry about the disgusting nature of it.
It's not disgusting to me, but I understand. What film was that, Sid?
That was a film came out last year called 21 Bridges.
Okay, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Is it online?
I think it's online. The late, very beautiful Chadwick Boseman was starring in it. Because it's one of his movies, I'm sure it's around and about. I find it really difficult to get prosthetics because I just haven't got the patience. You can sit in a chair for like 2.5 hours while someone does all that stuff to you. You're good with that?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I'm doing it so long, it's just second nature. It doesn't bother me. The longest makeup I think I ever did was like about 2 hours. My zombie, from start to finish, I have a complete zombie that I do myself. I could do within an hour.
If you ever feel comfortable, it'd be lovely to have you back and show us, because that would be great to see.
I'd be honored. It's hard this month. Even though I'm not actually going to work at a haunt, I've been doing Zoom horror shows, which is an interesting concept. I don't think it's as scary, but it works.
Brilliant. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah, let's leave it until after scary season. How's the COVID hit you? How has it been for you?
Our industry, like all theater, is devastated. You know,
Yeah.
there are shows that are just gone. There are some haunts, you know, that are opening up and doing shows, but it's few and far between. Like I was telling you, the one that I've been working with for 6 years, they're opening, but they got special permission. And then there's a lot of outdoor stuff that's opening, but it's a hard year for everyone.
And how is your husband, your partner?
My husband, he works from home. He's great. He's the one that, like, I've seen DS9. So using my time good during COVID, he was like, oh, you know who you should look at? And he's like, we started watching DS9 again. And wow, I have to tell you, it's made to watch, to binge watch. And then this show came up in our YouTube feed and I started watching, and I've been on for a couple of times, and I have to tell you, what you're doing is awesome. It's really cool.
I have to tell you that what you're doing is awesome too.
Keeping people screaming.
Exactly. It's all just excitement. You are brilliant, Shah. Thank you so much for
Thanks, Sid.
Come by anytime. You are.
I will. Well, I'll be back.
When you finished giving people heart attacks, come back and show us something you'd like to show us. That'd be great.
I will.
Thank you. One more.
Thank you, Shar. One of the coolest jobs that we have had on here, and we've had some really cool jobs.
You are not kidding.
All right, next we are going to check in with Tanya from Germany.
I'm here.
Hi, Tanya.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Sid.
It's good to see you again.
And I was so excited talking to you that I forgot to ask my questions.
So, what is your question?
So much about Deep Space Nine and other shows, but I'm also quite a fan of Game of Thrones. And I would like to ask a question about Doran Martell. How did you prepare for this part? Did you read the books, or did you go for the script of the producers and the writers of the show? Yeah.
The first thing I did was I went to Wikipedia, the book Wikipedia, and not the show Wikipedia. And I tried to find out any kind of biographical information on Doran. And there's very little. I didn't have time to read the books. That would have taken me weeks and weeks. But I'd seen my brother in the episodes that he played in, who was really charming and beautiful and got into fights and was metrosexual. And I really enjoyed what he did. And I tried to figure out how to become like him, but the opposite side of the same coin, if that makes sense. Because often siblings are very similar, but the opposite. So I wanted to be the sober, thoughtful version, but still with a little glint in my eye. And then I found out that he had this gout, this disease, which confined him to a wheelchair. And that was a really interesting challenge. He wasn't disabled as such, but he didn't have the energy all day to stay on his feet. So he could get up, but basically sat. I basically just used those things, and obviously the actor who played my brother was from Chile, and I think that was his accent. So I tried to do his accent, but I was much more mainland Spanish, not Chilean. And then we just went for it. Just shoot, let's go. And they didn't object to anything. I think that it went okay. I really was looking forward to it. I mean, it was one of those parts I was really looking forward to finding out more about, because the cultural aspects of having a fictional character from such an interesting make-believe country was fascinating. They weren't repressed. They were very open about their sexuality, about their humanity, all of these things I really enjoyed.
Filming in Sevilla.
Absolutely. What a place to film. What a beautiful place to film. It was really warm. I remember that the whole cast arrived at the same time, because I think we came on a plane together, and there were already people waiting at the hotel, because they knew that, not me, and the actor who plays, he's really lovely, by the way. I don't remember his name because I generally don't remember people's names. He's the guy with the brass hand.
That's Nicolas Costa-Waldau.
And Nikolai, loveliest person you'd ever meet. And they were all waiting to see him because they knew he was coming. And they would spend the night outside the hotel. They were all told that they weren't going to be able to see the actors. And they shut off the city, the whole part of the city, to everybody. And they put screens up. A whole square, which would normally be busy with people, and the palace, obviously, the famous palace, closed. People just slept on the streets. Yeah, it was amazing. They were so in love with Nikolai, and I call her the Dragon Lady. I can't remember her name. either. She was there as well. And obviously Indira was there. And the kids who weren't really kids, but the ones who played her daughters, who were pretty troublesome, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I didn't massively prepare, except just to try and get into it, spiritually. Just to go, I'm sexier than I normally am, and I'm relaxed about nakedness, and to get that idea into my head, because this is my culture. These guys, you saw them all with transparent things on. I'd hoped to prepare more as I was. Sometimes you take a role in a TV series, and you're going to learn as you go along. And you start with your best foot, and then you hope that the path opens its way for you. And that was a role that I kind of did that way. I did the same with Bashir. I didn't know how I was going to play Bashir. It just became clear.
And the producers didn't tell you how they planned to go on with Dora Mattel?
No.
Because I read that you had signed up for more seasons, and then because they just, at the end, the audience got the feeling that they just wanted to finish the show more quickly, so they cut out a lot of things.
I think that's what happened. I mean, I was horrified. They thought I was terrible. They just needed to get rid of me, that I was not good enough. And that may be the case. I never really found out why. I did have a lot more to do. But I think the real reason is because they knew the show. They realized at that point, at the end of the 5th season, I think, that they were going to finish the show 2 years later, or whenever it was. They knew they couldn't pack it all back into the box. So that they had to just go, we'll just have to kill him. It was, shame. That's me being kind to myself. I'm sure that they may have thought, well, he's terrible. It was real disappointment. So, but that's what I think.
Are you going to find out by reading Mr. Martin's book when it finally comes out for the next installment of the books? Are you going to find out what he has in mind for Dora Martell?
Because I haven't read any of the books yet, I probably won't. I'll probably just let it go. But if I start the books, then I obviously go all the way. There are certain books that back in the day, when in my 20s and 30s, I used to avidly read fantasy and some science fiction. I think the Pratchett books, they would be up my street. Yeah, so I probably won't find out. I don't think so.
Someone
will tell me.
Dora Martell will die in the books probably as well. So I don't think the Danish master plan.
Maybe, but I don't know if this writer cares what the other guys did, because the Dora Martell in the books, I've been told, is very different to the one that we had on the screen.
Yeah, and then I have a more indiscreet, more professional interest in the question. Because you signed up for a longer period, and they cut your part, will you get some kind of compensation because you've been told we probably will need you in this month, in that year, and then you that schedule open. And will you get a compensation for that?
Yes, you do. You get a guarantee.
Now, I'm interested just in how people in different businesses get paid.
Yeah, if you organise anyone to do a job for you and you cancel, you probably lose your deposit. And so they had to pay me my, 6-show guarantee that they thought I was going to be.
Well, but it's quite unusual to have a show running so long. It's also certain employment. If you're in one of the main characters, you don't have to worry too much about that. And that's, I think, in your kind of business, quite valuable as well.
It's nice to have when you know what's going to happen next year. Yeah. Especially if you've got things like children with birthdays that, you're always missing, or Christmas that you can't come home for. I was a constant disappointment as a father, because I would constantly have to go and find some work. And it would be South Africa, Morocco, or somewhere. Django couldn't come because he was at school. And also, it's incredibly boring. Watching films being filmed is one of the most boring things in the world. So I'm glad you got to ask some questions. I'm really happy. We've caught up. We're feeling good. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for answering.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Tanya. I think you asked some really interesting questions that other people have also forgotten to ask.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to Steve, who is or just had a birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you. Yes, on Wednesday.
Congratulations. That's
fantastic.
You. What a colourful study you have. It's really cool in there. Do you mind if we say happy birthday to you?
Oh, not at all.
Belated, though it is.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
There you go.
Happy birthday.
Was it a happy birthday?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
no, good. What do you remember about it? It was only a couple of days ago.
Well, I went and got sushi.
Nice.
Which is a little indulgent for me. So I got half sashimi, half sushi.
I like sashimi, so I'm pretty good with that stuff. And you treated yourself to that.
Yes.
Good.
I did a drawing, but I want to get to that in a second.
Good. I'd like to get to that in a second too. Tell me the top you're wearing. What's the provenance of that top? Because it looks remarkably like something Central African, but it could be from anywhere.
Yeah, it's a dashiki, and I got it on eBay.
It's beautiful. It's really gorgeous. I would guess, and there'll be someone who corrects me, but I would guess it's Central or South African.
This is my stage garb.
Oh, cool.
For when I play music, because my musical heroes always wore dashikis.
Okay.
At least back in the early 70s.
Who are your musical heroes?
My big love is the band Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the first couple years of Yes's career, they were all wearing dashikis all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And then went out of fashion.
Yeah, it was kind of they sort of hangover from the sort of 60s, wasn't it?
So I promised Mel I would keep it short. I just wanted to show you a couple things.
Okay.
So I have 4 drawings here, and the interesting thing about the first 3 is that I did them while listening to Sid City.
Wow.
And I turned my camera on the drawing so that people could watch if they wanted to. So some Sid City people were watching while I did the first 3 drawings.
Wow. It's just, the cross-hatching is exquisite.
Thank you.
It's really high quality draftsmanship.
Actually, this stuff I feel is kind of sloppy because I was trying to do, I had the camera pointing at me. I had to kind of work around the camera, so I wasn't...
Well, it's pretty fine from my
precise
point.
As usual. But this is Core, from the original series, and then from Deep Space Nine on the right.
Wow.
They had the 2 versions.
This is just great work, man. I mean, this is lovely.
When I came on the first time, I was telling you about my comic, The Comic Verse, and the comic about my experience with you on Sid City. And the first time I talked to you, I asked you what your favorite virus episode of Star Trek was.
Yeah.
And you said The Quickening.
I did.
And I told you we were doing a comic about the viruses of Star Trek.
Right.
These are all in that comic. This is the only one I didn't do on Sid City. That's the drawing I did on my birthday. And
wow. Oh.
What I did that time was my friend Bianca, who's also been on the show, she writes the comic verse. She gave me a webcam for my birthday. So I made a video of my drawing this, and I made a pretty cool time-lapse video of me drawing that. And it took like 2.5 hours, but I shortened it to 13 minutes.
It's astonishingly detailed work. I mean, the parallel lines are just so amazingly accurate. And I can see their free hand. Wow. Computers are never going to replace people for this sort of stuff.
So I'll post a link in the chat when we're done.
Please do.
The time-lapse video of the drawing of this image here.
Wow. I'm so impressed, Steve. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
It's exquisite work. We have so many talented people around us. It's crazy. Have you been listening well over the last couple of weeks where we've been talking to other people who make illustrated magazines? You should probably talk to each other just for advice. That's you guys would have a lot to share, I think. Not that you have to work together, but just to go, you should look around at this and you should have a look at that. I just think you're incredibly talented and don't want to waste you in the social club.
I would be doing this stuff regardless. It's just like another place to share it if people are interested.
Oh, we are. Thank you. I am. I only speak for myself. I'm just think it's just wonderful work. Really terrific. How are you feeling? How's life in general?
Pretty good. I've told you I work in a supermarket, so it's always...
Yeah. And you finally got relocated to it. At least you didn't have to go miles every time, so you could be near your mother. And how is she?
She's had some really good days. She has a step counter to see how much she walks each day. But, it's hard because sometimes she just doesn't have the strength to do much.
How far away does she live now?
Oh, I live with her.
You live with her?
I take care of her.
That's right. Thank you. I hear so many stories, all of which I love.
For sure. Yeah, she has multiple myeloma.
Inflate them.
I'm her caregiver.
Right. That's a very difficult thing to do.
Not that hard for me. She takes care of herself very well. I have to do very little for her. I do the dishes. I do whatever shopping she needs.
Okay.
I take her to the doctor.
And do you get outside help as well? Do people visit?
It hasn't been necessary yet.
Good.
It's been 6 years now.
Wow. She's doing remarkably well. Well, I give her my best. Not that she knows me, but I would like to convey my very best wishes to her anyway.
Sure, of course.
I know you. Thank you. I'd love to see a link to you drawing the Odo and Quark picture.
Yes, I will put that as soon as I get off.
Great. Thanks, Steve. All the best, my friend.
And we have a special presentation. Randy's going to come on and share a little history with us, I believe.
I would be fascinated.
Hi,
Hey, Randy, you always look fantastic. And I missed out 2 syllables there.
It's all right. Hi. You'll notice that there's some stuff on my face at the moment, just a bit of light foundation for the occasion. So I just feel like I've shown up as Randy with the mustache and everything like that a few times at this point. It's always been for something fun, you know, like a cosplay thing or like a jokey type thing, which is great. But I feel really terrible about the fact that I haven't actually really talked about drag. You know, what I do is a very inherently queer thing. You know, it's a queer kind of art form. I just felt terrible for having shown up and been like, and then actually just not kind of told you guys anything about what all this means in the first place. Because I feel like generally, because I remember when I first sort of spoke to you about drag, you guys sort of said you hadn't actually seen a drag king before. And I feel like that's kind of typical for most people. They tend to have seen drag queens and they tend to be aware of stuff like RuPaul's Drag Race and those sorts of things. But that's actually just such a tiny part of what actually makes up drag.
We'd love to know. I'm going to put myself on mute because I want everyone to have your undivided attention.
Okay, welcome to my TED Talk. So basically, drag is, well, funnily enough, like the RuPaul definition of drag is really narrow because he's men in dresses and we dress like women. And it's like, well, that's not entirely what the point is, because the whole idea of drag is this idea that you question the idea of gender presentation in general. And, you know, women are not the one gender that exists. So what you've got is actually lots of people who turn the concept of the idea that as a person with a gender, you feel like you have to present that gender in a certain way. But what drag does is it takes that and it actually turns it into whatever you want it to be. For me, as a non-binary person, when I first sort of came out and I started doing drag and those sorts of things, drag for me is a way of me going, well, you know, how do I want to present my gender? I'm in control of that and I don't have to do it for anybody else. It's for me and it's my own kind of personal expression of how I feel that is. And, you know, it can be as colorful as you like and it's meant to be sort of larger than life. And it's almost making fun of the fact that we're so kind of forced into these boxes of you have to put on, you know, makeup or you have to look pretty or you have to look masculine or whatever. And then you sort of think, well, Randy's a dude. And I'm gonna, you know, when I'm in drag, I will ask people to refer to me as he and him. But what that dude looks like, you know, what that masculinity looks like can pretty much be anything. I actually have some photos that I sent to Mel. So basically some of the stuff that I use drag to do, aside from, you know, cosplay type stuff and jokey type stuff, is very much, it sounds really wanky when I say it, but like, it's kind of like queer performance art, sort of. It's just a real way to kind of explore that idea of gender. So this was one of the shows that I did for a pageant, and the performance was sort of about, well, I had this big mesh dress that I made that was sort of see-through, and throughout the performance I sort of shredded it off me, and then at the end you can sort of see there I had like a big trans flag cape that I could sort of fling around, and that was a really kind of empowering moment for me to be able to do something like that, which was pretty cool. And I think it might be nice for some people as well to have a bit of a look at what my community looks like. I'm kind of sad at the moment because I'm really missing all of these people. I love them all so much. But in Melbourne, we actually have an entire street where there are just gay clubs, there are queer clubs, gay bookshops, we call it Gay McDonald's because that's where we all go after shows and those sorts of things. And, you know, they've painted the street rainbow. It's sort of, everybody knows that, you know, if you're walking down this sort of rainbow street, you can sort of look however you want and you're going to be safe there because it's a safe street, which I think is so cool. Yeah, I broke my foot, so you can sort of see one of the other queens rhinestones with my name onto my moon boot, which was fun. And then on the other side there is actually us at the National Gallery as well. So in Melbourne, we had the Keith Haring and Basquiat exhibition here, and they actually had drag people there sort of doing their thing every week, which was super, super fun. And it was really cool that sort of as a city, Melbourne is actually really quite interested in supporting this art form in all of its forms. So you'll sort of see me there with a few of my king friends. And then again, with the local community, you guys will see in that picture where we're all in blue, in the middle there is another social club member. That's Talia, or Flags, who does some of the editing. That's us as Space ABBA. And on the other side as well, I wanted to point out, you'll see me there with another drag queen. And I wanted to point out that she is a cisgender woman. So again, if you just watch RuPaul's Drag Race, you sort of assume that it's sort of just cisgender men that do drag. No, absolutely not. Drag queens can be cisgender women as well, can be anybody, however you identify. And she is one of my best friends. So we do lots and lots of shows together. And then I've just got some other pictures as well of, just so that you can kind of see, because this community has such diversity. That's us at the National Gallery again. That was the opening night. It's the same outfit. So you can kind of see there's so many different looks. There's so many different ways that you can do drag. There's just such diversity in it, which I think is really cool. I think it's really exciting. And I just really wanted to share these guys with you. And just on the last slide as well, because I think drag kings don't really get as much of a spotlight as queens do. But as you can see there are so many, again, different ways that you can do drag kinging, so many ways that you can perform what masculinity looks like, which I think is really exciting. And that's basically a bit of a snapshot of myself and the community I come from. So I did want to do a little number for you guys today, just because I wanted to do something that wasn't cosplay. This is sort of more like something that I would actually do, you know, if you came and saw me at one of the events. This is more something that you'd see there. When you are a drag performer, you have a moment that you sort of consider like your graduation number. So it's sort of where you go from being a performer that's trying to get gigs and is still learning and relies a lot on, say, other people, or relies on, you know, acrobatics and various other things to sort of make sure you're holding the audience's attention. Your graduation number is sort of the one that's just a straight lip sync and sort of proves that you can sort of hold your own on a stage without any extras. And the way this came about was I had a lovely drag queen take me aside at one point. She sort of said, "You look really good, but you don't take up space." I think completely changed the way that I think about myself and my queerness and those sorts of things, because, you know, as a queer person, and especially as a trans person, you often don't want to take up space. You don't feel like you deserve to take up space, and you don't feel like, you know, you feel like you sort of are imposing on people by, say, asking for people to use the correct pronouns for you or those sorts of things. So you always want to make yourself smaller, and I hadn't realized that that was sort of translating to the stage as well. And so this was kind of a number that I came up with where I was sort of like, well, I am going to take up some space and actually demand that people look at me, basically.
That was fantastic.
I know, I couldn't turn my mute off. You're amazing. That was amazing. That was really wonderful. The amazing Randy. That's the third time you've blown our socks off with a wonderful routine. And that was just, I think, the best. That was just, that woke me up. It's so exhilarating. I was just so happy to see that. Thank you. We've got to have another discussion about drag, because there's more to learn about it. The history of it. I mean, I love the fact that Melbourne are being so generous, you know, that they give a damn about their citizens. Thank you. And I saw the chat a bit, and everybody was just going nuts. You can read it later. It was a total diarrhea of excellence, happiness and craziness. Really wonderful, really, really great.
Thank you so much, Rainey. That was so joyful and informative, educational as well. Thank you. All right, everybody. I think we're going to end it on that wonderful note. What a way to head into our weekends.
Thank you, everybody. And you know I'm never going to be a critic, because if coming up with phrases like diarrhea of excellence is not going to be, it's not winning. It's not a winning phrase. But you know what I mean.
It goes with your bathtub of compliments. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for that joyful exit.